Hi everyone, my name is Julie Alley and I am one of the marketing coordinators with BCIT School of Health Sciences. It is my pleasure to welcome you to this information session for clinical genetics technology. First off, I want to say how happy we are to see you all and thank you for attending the presentation today. Second, you may post your questions or comments into the chat during the presentation. We will address as many questions as we can near the end of the presentation and during the Q&A segment. And third, please keep your microphone and video turned off until the end of the presentation to reduce connectivity issues and interruptions. This is greatly appreciated. Just before we get started, BCIT acknowledges that our province of British Columbia is located on the homelands of 203 distinct Indigenous nations and cultures, with over 30 different languages and close to 60 unique dialects are spoken in the province. We ask all participants to reflect, honor, and in their own way, the First Nation land on which they live, work, and play. Our agenda for today is our welcome and introductions, a poll question, a presentation and program overview, and a Q&A segment. Before we get started, I am going to run a quick poll. How many clinical genetics technology programs are there in Canada? And to share the answer, I'm going to pass it over to the Clinical Genetics Technology Program Head, Mandy Harris. Mandy?
Hi, everybody. So the answer here is 2. BCIT is one of 2 clinical genetics technology programs in Canada. The only other one is back east in Toronto at the Michener Institute of Technology. So welcome here, everybody, and I hope to educate you a little bit further about our program. Like I said, my name is Mandy Harris. I'm the program head. I have worked in different health authorities as a clinical genetics technologist in the past, and then started teaching into the program, and now I am the program head. So welcome here, everybody. So what is clinical genetics technology? So clinical genetics technology is the practice of diagnosing genetic diseases, such as Down syndrome, autism, all kinds of cancers, leukemias, and lymphomas. And we test for all kinds of genetic disease using various testing methods, such as karyotyping, PCR, FISH, microarray, and our latest next generation sequencing. So when you're thinking about whether clinical genetics is for you, some things to consider are that clinical genetics is all about problem solving. It's all about taking a deep dive into the human genome and investigating what is going on with particular patients. So we look at all types of ways to investigate genetic codes based on the indication that comes to us. So there's different areas in the lab, such as tissue, blood, and bone marrow. So tissue testing has to do a lot with prenatal diagnosis, so women who are expecting and perhaps there was an abnormal ultrasound, so investigating the reason for that abnormal ultrasound. We'll look at blood samples to see why perhaps parents have repeat spontaneous abortions. We'll investigate for autism and cancers and the like. So if you like to problem solve and you have good judgment and you like to work both independently and as a team, you will be spending a lot of your time sort of doing wet work, bench work as an independent, and then you'll be collaborating with your fellow clinical genetics technologists, especially on more complex cases or when you're onboarding new technology, and you'll need to present your results to your supervisor or the medical geneticist on staff. So it's really a mix. I would say predominantly a lot of independent work, but you're definitely rolling up and working with that greater team. So if you like this type of thing and you have a background in life science, so we do require a Bachelor of Science. If you've taken lots of courses in genetics or molecular biology, biochemistry, that type of thing, that's what we like to see, you to have that solid theoretical foundation before you come into our program. So what does the program look like? So you come in, you have your Bachelor of Science, and we're going to teach you all the testing methods for diagnosing genetic disease. And that's going to happen over 13 and a half months. So it's a full-time program. and you're on campus when you're on the didactic portion of the program from about 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. most days. And so it's 25 weeks here at BCIT from September to March. And then mid-March, our students go out to clinical sites across Canada. And I would say about half of our class of 10 ends up at a out-of-province placement at some point during their 30 weeks of clinical practicum. And so during that 30 weeks, it's 18 weeks in the cytogenetics labs and 12 weeks in the molecular genetics labs, really using all the things you learned at BCIT before you write your national certification exam in October. So that is what the program looks like. And like I say, your practicum, you have a cytogenetic practicum and a molecular practicum. So you'll be using all of the different testing methods relevant to those. So karyotyping, FISH, and microarray you'll do in your cytogenetics practicum, and PCR, next generation sequencing, MLPA, those types of things you'll be doing in your molecular practicum. So career outlook, well, those coming into the program these days, the career outlook is great. Like most health professions, there's a lot of need. There's been a lot of retirements in the field. It hasn't always been the case that there's this much need out there, but it's certainly all of our grads are getting jobs right away. So that's really good to understand. And our students are working predominantly in major hospitals. So things like Children's and Women's Hospital, Vancouver General, Royal Columbian in British Columbia, and then of course Children's Hospital in Alberta and things like that. So major hospitals, some private clinics, Life Labs, some of our clinical genetics techs work at Life Labs. I'm trying to think of some others. There's a new private lab, Connexia, that does next generation sequencing. So there are a few private clinics and research labs less so. Typically, our grads go into the diagnostic space, so less about figuring things out and more about utilizing these skills to tell a patient what's going on. Salaries start at about $64,000 a year. That might be a little bit bumped up now. I think there was just a new agreement that came out. And then after about 5 years, you're looking at about $80,000 per year. And this is in BC. There are provinces actually that are higher than this, but in BC, this is where the salaries are right now. And of course, you start with 4 weeks of paid vacation and you start accruing your pension. So it's a really great job that way. So I don't know if we have Celia here right now. Celia Lau was a former grad of ours, and she is due to come onto the call and speak about her experience in the program. So we'll just circle back to her when she arrives here. Entrance requirements. What does it take to get in the program? Well, this is spelled out on our website, and you do need to have fulfilled the English requirement, which is a 73% or higher in English 12. You need to come in with a Bachelor of Science. We like to see a good concentration of cell biology, molecular biology, genetics courses in your 3rd and 4th year. We like 3 letters of reference. So I would recommend having a diverse range of letters of reference. It's nice if we see an academic letter of reference, a former prof, perhaps, some work experience. So a combination of those, maybe if you've done some volunteer experience, that would be your 3rd letter. They can all be from one area if you need to, if those are your strongest letters of reference. But if you can get strong letters from a diverse perspective, that's preferred. We do require that everybody complete our Casper assessment. So that is an online, kind of like a multiple mini interview session where they're going to ask you some more soft skill type of questions, how you communicate and that sort of thing. So we like you to be competitive in your Casper assessments. We look at your score there. And then we also require you to acknowledge the program requirements and fill out a questionnaire. So the questionnaire that we have you fill out is really trying to see what your understanding of the clinical genetics field is, so that we want to know that you know the career that you've signed up for, that you're well aware of what it means to do that type of work, what it's all about, so you're fully informed before you come to us to learn. So start dates. All of our cohorts, it's a 13.5-month program, and they start in September. So we take applications from October all the way to April 3rd. And so our applications are open right now until April 3rd. And at that point, myself and a group of faculty get together to look at all the applications and then make our selection for September of 2023. And so some qualities that we look for your communication skills, your written, your verbal communication. We like to see that you're interested in analytical work, looking at data, troubleshooting, problem solving, that you have a good attention to detail, and that you work well with others. Those are sort of some of the big key things that we're looking for in your application. So application steps. So first thing is get on the website, look at the entrance requirements, look at when you need to have those submitted by, do submit those. If you do need to upgrade, we do have a recency requirement. So you need to have completed your Bachelor of Science, Masters of Science, or been working in the field currently to be recent. If you don't have that recency, I would encourage you, say you have your Bachelor of Science, but it's 7 years old and you haven't been working in the field, we encourage you to go take a couple upper level genetics courses just to fulfill that recency requirement, so you're really up to date on the knowledge that's out there. So we need all your transcripts and everything loaded up. And then, yeah, you apply online. And then, like I alluded to before, after you apply, admissions, so before it gets to myself and faculty, admissions have a look over it, make sure you have all the documents needed. It comes to myself and my team. We look at everything, we select, and then we send out non-accept letters to those who didn't make it into the program. And I personally call the 10 students that make it into our program. It's really fun for me to hear the excitement of people when they get in, and then those acceptance letters go out. And we do tell students before they accept what clinical placement they have, whether it's out of province or what have you, so that they can plan for that. All right, I believe at this point, Julie is going to take over, so I'll hand it over to you, Julie.
So now, moving on from the academics, I'd like to let you know that BCIT is committed to supporting students in a holistic sense. We want you to succeed not only in your academics, but also outside of school. Some of the student services are available to you as a prospective student, and others will be available to you once you become an enrolled student. Here are some of the important student supports that I'd like to mention. If you are Indigenous, BCIT's Indigenous Initiatives Department is there for you to ensure a smooth transition into your first year. They offer peer-to-peer mentorship, a welcoming gathering place, and provide clarification on Indigenous funding. BCIT's awards, scholarships, and bursaries are listed on our Financial Aid and Awards webpage. I would like to mention that we have a President's Entrance Award. Selection is based on academic achievement and also volunteer and community service. Please contact Financial Aid directly for more information. BCIT is committed to providing assistance to students with permanent or temporary disabilities. If you have been accepted to a program and believe you may need accommodation to be successful, I encourage you to connect with our Accessibility Services Department. BCIT Student Health Services is a health clinic located at the Burnaby campus. They provide medical care for BCIT students year-round. We have counseling and student development department available to help you enhance your educational performance and maximize your success as a student at BCIT. Our recreation services promotes and encourages the practice of physical well-being. We consider recreation an integral part of campus life and welcome all students to enjoy their services. There, I believe, is a fully functioning gym, like a racquetball court, a rock climbing wall, a sauna, a steam room, and fully functioning showers. So if you are a student at BCIT, I encourage you to check it out. Program advising. They invite you to connect with them through telephone, drop-in, or email. These are the options to reach out to them. Now, please keep in mind that this video presentation will be sent to you in a link, and you will receive a copy of the slide deck. So you do not need to screenshot anything or write any of this down. If you have any questions after today, again, I encourage you to contact Program Advising. Here are our social media handles: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. We are going to open up a TikTok soon. So I invite you to connect with us on any of these platforms. These are also links that you can utilize to jump on a tour, spend a day, find out when the next big info is, or again, to reach out to advising. And now I open up the floor for our questions and answers, unless, oh, Celia has arrived. Celia has arrived. I'm going to pass it on to her, and let's just go back a couple of slides. And here we go. Welcome, Celia.
Hi, everyone. Sorry for the wait. I'm just rushing back home from work. Right now I'm at BC Cancer, so it's a bit of a ride for me back to Burnaby.
Thank you for being here, Celia. I know it's a bit crazy out there with the snow and the transit today. But thank you for making the time to speak to prospective students. I know it's a really valuable part of this session. So yeah, hi, we see you now. So I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, so a little background about myself. I'm not sure if that has been talked about yet. So I finished my bachelor's and my master's at UBC, so Master of Science. And after my master's, I started working at the BC Center for Disease Control. And that was during COVID. So I was doing a lot of COVID testing. And after that experience, I realized I really wanted to be in that diagnostic lab setting. And at the time, I had coworkers who had taken this program, and so they were telling me everything about it and how fast paced and interesting it is. So I decided to follow through with it, and here I am now. So a lot of you might be thinking of whether or not you should do this program, and probably a lot of people are in the same shoes as I was back 2 years ago, is whether or not I should go back to school if I'm already working. Well, I really like this BCIT program because it has really small class sizes. And so you're really close knit with all your coworker or future coworkers who are your now like instructors or classmates. And it's also a very, very short program. It's only 13 months. So you're quickly launching yourself into a career in the healthcare field. And also a little bit about why I like what I'm doing right now is, even though we're not interacting directly with patients every day, we're still making a huge impact. So some examples are that we're dealing with specimens that are coming from newborn or prenatal samples or cancer samples. And so we're making a huge impact to all these patients, even though we're not directly seeing them. And what keeps us on our toes every day is interesting because there's a high level of interpretation and a lot of critical thinking involved, since when you come out of the program, you're a Tech 3, which means that more analysis is involved in your work as opposed to maybe a Tech 1 or a Tech 2 position. But other than that, I think it's also an interesting field because you're learning from everyone at the workplace every day. So you're interacting with a lot of doctors, maybe clinical geneticists. And so you're getting a lot of active feedback and a lot of knowledge. So for anyone who likes to be learning every single day, I think it's a really good career for you. And then in terms of where I see myself in the next 5 years professionally, because I just graduated last year. Technically, my graduation was in March, or is in March. But I think in the next 5 years, I foresee myself to just continually building my skills. I do want to broaden my skill set towards assay development and quality assurance, but that's further down the line once I'm more settled into my job. Let me
So
know.
Celia, can you tell us what you're testing for right now in the lab at BC Cancer?
Yeah, sure. So there are kind of like two departments at the BC Cancer Genetics Lab. So there's the cytogenetics side and the molecular side. So right now I'm in the cyto side, which means that it involves looking at chromosomes. So that could be for like MDS syndromes, or so different types of leukemia as well. For me, I work specifically in the fish department. So it's the fluorescence in situ hybridization department. And so what this looks like is that we're testing for different solid tumors or blood samples to see if they have any rearrangement in chromosomes. Um, so that's what I'm doing right now. It involves a lot of fluorescent microscopy work.
Thanks, Celia. And I know BC Cancer has lots of opportunity to move around in the lab and do different tests. It's a great place to be. So congratulations on getting a job there. That's fantastic.
Thank you. And it's all because of the network that I've been building throughout this program as well. Has two instructors from this program do work at BC Cancer. So you're being in this program not only builds your knowledge, but also helps you build your network within this really tight knit field. And it really gets you jobs and positions.
Yeah, very, very good point, Celia. The network is so important for getting a job, for sure. Julie, is there anything you wanted to add, or are we opening it up for questions for people to ask Celia or myself?
Thank you, Celia. That was so insightful. Yes, now the floor is open for our questions and answers. You could put them in the chat. You could take yourself off mute and ask. I think we're starting with Justine. How many students generally apply each year?
I would say we typically get about 50 or 60 applicants. So it's a 1 to 5 chance of getting in kind of thing for every one person that gets in. There were 5 applicants.
Were there any other questions in the chat, Amber, that came up that might be relevant to the whole group or that you wanted to elaborate on?
Actually, nothing so far. So I think, let me see here. It was about about submitting transcripts. And so everything, just to go over what we said, everything's online. So you submit it from the Apply Now blue tab that's under the entrance requirements. If you scroll down under the entrance requirements, click on Apply Now, scan and attach all your supporting documents as PDF files with the online application prior to that April 3rd deadline. That goes to admissions, they review it, and then provided you've met all the academic requirements, it will be moved forward to the department for that competitive review.
So does anybody have any questions for Celia, how her experience was during the program, or for myself, any other burning questions out there that we haven't answered already?
Someone asked, does BCIT have an online program?
No, especially not for this. I mean, we adapted during COVID, and you know, it's not ideal because it is very hands-on learning, and you really do need to get practice doing the skills in the lab to perform at a competent level when you get out into the workforce. So I think there's a question for Celia out there that I just saw. I'll let
what's
Julie.
a general day in your job look like? So basically in the morning, you're just kind of understanding what needs to be done for that day. So it depends on the type of specimen and the test you're working on. The specimen could arrive early in the day or late in the day. So it depends on that. But in the morning, you would get ready for all the tests that you have to do. So you're also interacting with maybe the medical lab assistants that work in the lab to see what samples have come in. And so you set that up, and then in the middle, when you have time, you can do some analysis of previous tests that you've done. And also you're doing report checking and entering it into the patient information systems. So pretty much like that. And if there's any free time, you would just stock up on any consumables that you have. Just prepare. And right now at BC Cancer, we have sort of more of an office hour type of shift. And I know most labs are like this as well. So I work 8 to 4. A lot of people are between like either 7 to 3 or even like 10 to 6. So it's a little bit of a flexible hour there. And then I hope that answers your question. I'll move on to the next one. What did you find the workload during your didactic?
Hello.
The workload during the didactic portion, I would say, to be honest, it's quite intense. But that's because everything's done within 13 months. And especially the didactic portion, you only get 6 months of that. And the more of the time are spent in practicum. But I think it's definitely manageable. And because the class sizes are small and all the instructors can have one-on-one time with you. So even if you're struggling with a topic, you can definitely go to their office hours. Even if they don't have office hours, definitely just email them, and they're a lot more willing to spend time with you as well. So I wouldn't worry too much about the didactic portion. I think it's actually a little bit less intense than maybe first year science when I did UBC. So that's kind of like how I gauge it. But you have to stay on top of your studies. That being said, some projects are a lot more involved and hands-on and require a lot of microscopy work, which you can't really shrink or concentrate the time into. So those things take more time to work on. As long as you're organized, it's fine.
Chromosomes are like a new language, right, Celia?
Yeah.
It takes some time.
It takes a while to be literate.
For sure. So Salman, it looks like you have a question. Do you want to unmute yourself and ask your question?
Thank you for giving me a chance. Actually, I just want to ask if BCIT gives an option for online learning platform instead of in person for the same program.
The answer to that is no. We don't have a online an ability to teach online. Yeah, it's just it's near impossible to teach the skills required for the job online. You really do need that practice handling the specimens and using the equipment, and that's really you've gained a lot of theory with your undergrad degree. This program is really about doing and
yes, I understand that. Can I brief myself if you don't mind?
Sorry?
Can I brief myself if you don't mind?
I don't know what that I'm not.
Can I give my introduction if you don't mind?
Well, we're at it. Perhaps it's better to reach out to me, Salman, if it's not something that everyone can benefit from in the session. Definitely do reach out to me in email. But if it's a question that everybody in this session can benefit from, please do ask.
Okay, sure. I'll reach out with their email ID then.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I think there was another
Question
question.
for Celia.
There's a couple of them. So first of all, from Anna, would knowledge in genomics from undergrad courses be an asset?
Yeah, definitely you need the background knowledge in genomics because we don't have time in the program to teach that knowledge. That's why it's a requirement for entry. That's why we need to see those courses on your undergraduate degree so that you come in with that understanding. We're building on that understanding.
Okay, and the last question is, what experiences do you think prepared you best for this program? I think this is for Celia. And what was the biggest learning curve?
So back to what Mandy was saying, the biggest learning curve is definitely looking at the chromosomes, because any undergrad course would most likely not teach you how to identify chromosomes based on their banding pattern. So you just need to practice a lot, and we get a lot of practice in class as well. And Mandy is the one who teaches the chromosomes. So talking to her is a lot and makes the whole situation a lot easier. And what experience do you think prepared you best? So I think my undergrad and master's degree helped me time manage for the program, organizing when to study and how to study efficiently. That is important. And in terms of work experience, my clinical lab experience at the CDC was very helpful just to get adapted to what it's like handling patient information, handling samples, and the pace at which a lab would work at. Um, so kind of the soft skills are the most important and prepared me the most for this program, I would say, because once you're in the program, you're already selected for your like all your knowledge that you have before. So anything from the program is a lot of soft skills as well.
We might want to put that one to Mandy. What is the annual salary working in this field? I think you addressed that at the start.
Yeah, I think we answered it. I don't know, Celia might know the more current. I think it starts at 65,000 and ends at about 80,000 after about 5 years. And then, so you have increments up to every year. You get an incremental raise. And then after the 5 years, once you're at your max salary, you get an extra day vacation every year as well.
And vacations right now for PHSA starts at 4 weeks, so 20 days. And the current hourly pay is around 33. And keep in mind, if you work in other provinces, there's also a different hourly pay as well.
Yes, I mentioned that. It's often higher. Hopefully we can lobby the union and get that higher as well. But it's great work-life balance job. You're intense when you're there, but you get to go home and enjoy your time. So thank you so much, Celia. I think you answered a lot of questions for people and great insight. So thank you so much for doing that. Is there anything else that you see, Embry and Julie?
No, I just wanted to give a reminder to everyone that a copy of the slide deck and the link to the recorded video will be sent to all registrants sometime this week. There are more info sessions coming up later on this week. You can feel free to join any of them or all of them. And thank you, Mandy, for that excellent presentation. If anyone has any further questions, please feel free to reach out to Mandy. I'll put that right back on. There's one last question. If we can answer that one.
Yeah, I just popped it in there. Yes, practicum placements are completely random. So we don't take any lobbying for, if we open that up, it would be pretty tough. So it's completely randomized where students go. And like I said, half, if not more, of the class needs to do an out-of-province placement, and they're really great learning opportunities. And I wouldn't let that discourage you at all. We have great relationships and can set you up well wherever you do your training. I'm sure Celia can attest to that from her classmates and herself in experience. And did you guys connect on WhatsApp and communicate through that with everybody?
Yeah, so I went to one of the further provinces for my practicum. So I went to Winnipeg, and it was really eye-opening to see how the different labs in different provinces would like the culture and how they handle samples and the level of safety. I think that's really important starting off your career, to have a wide range of experiences, and I think it will only benefit you in the long run. I know at first I was a little bit not as willing to go to Winnipeg, but honestly, the benefits outweigh the 3 short months that you're going to be there. And so if I were to make a decision again, I would hop onto it. And everyone that I've met at those out of provinces labs were very, very nice, and they're all very welcoming. And even if you have any problems with housing, transiting, they're all willing to help you with that and it's always nice to have someone local to tell you what the situation is like in a different province if you're heading there. So I wouldn't worry too much about it. And for the practicum, just to answer this, it's not paid. It's just part of your tuition that you have to pay.
All right, I think that's everything that's out there. Thanks, everybody.
Have a good night. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe out there.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.